Hey everybody, welcome to day 157, and we are reading John chapter 17. And this is one of the greatest prayers recorded in the Bible. And this is a prayer from Jesus. We've only seen him pray and have his words of his prayer noted when we look at the Lord's Prayer that we have already hit on in the Gospels. And so here, chapter 17 of John, we see Jesus's prayer after he tells the disciples basically what's coming, and he's going to be arrested shortly after. And so there's going to be several parts that I touch on from this and read to you, just because when you have Jesus's actual words and prayers, you can't really beat that. So it says that when Jesus had spoken these words, he lifted his eyes up to heaven. And so first of all, this tells us that his posture for prayer is maybe different than what we see in the modern day. In the modern day, it's heads bowed and eyes closed. And in this time, it was not unusual for someone to lift up their eyes toward heaven and pray. And so it reminds us that how we pray is more about the social side of things than it is about the scriptural side. What we pray is what Jesus teaches us. And so what we see here about prayer is that Jesus does teach about, and the words he uses talks about not just glorifying himself, he's talking about glorifying God. And he's basically just saying, I want to use my life to glorify you. And that's how Jesus has chosen to live, and what he's trying to do when he goes to the cross, it is the glorification of God and of the Son of God. And so this is where we see that part come into play. And then on verse 6, it says, I have manifested your name to the people whom you gave me out of the world. Yours they were, and you gave them to me, and they have kept your word. And when we talk about manifesting something, it's the way we display ourselves. And so when Jesus says that he's manifested your name to the people, he's talking about he has demonstrated and displayed the character of God to the people that he is speaking to. And that's what God calls us to do. He calls us to manifest his name, so to display his name to others and those around us. And so then it just says in verse 9, it says, I am praying for them. I'm not praying for the world, but for those whom you have given me, for they are yours. All mine are yours, and yours are mine, and I am glorified in them. And what a great thought, just that Jesus was praying for the disciples. And we read a little bit of the ways down, and it says, in verse 20, I do not ask for these only, but also for those who will believe in me through their word, that they may all be one, just as you, Father, are in me and I in you, that they also may be in us, so that the world may believe that you have sent me. And so just sit in that thought today as you finish reading chapter 17, that Jesus not only prayed for the disciples, he prayed for us. All those years ago, over 2,000 years ago, Jesus actually prayed for us as believers because he knew what we would face as believers in him. And we see in here that back in verse 15, it says, I do not ask you that you take them out of the world, but that you keep them from the evil one. They are not of the world, just as I am not of the world. Sanctify them in your truth. Your word is truth. And so he's not asking us to become these Christian cults where we only associate with people who are Christians. What he's asking is for us to be protected and guarded against Satan and the temptations of the world, and that we would be sanctified, and that we'd be able to glorify his name. And so when you're looking at, of course, the people closest to you, you want them to be Christians because they need to be giving you godly advice and scriptural advice and praying for you. but it does not mean that we have to only associate with people that are Christians. We need to pray for strength and protection from Satan so that we can share the good news with others. And those others, we need to have relationships with those people so that they're willing to listen. And then as chapter 17 wraps up, it just says, Father, I desire that they also, whom you have given me, may be with me where I am, to see my glory that you have given me, because you loved me before the foundation of the world. And just a great verse for us to remember that Jesus had existed. This goes back to John 1:1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. And Jesus was there from the foundation of the earth as well. So this ties the whole gospel together, that Jesus was sent as God's only Son, as a sacrifice for his people, so that we may spend eternity with him. And so as you wrap up your reading today, sit in the fact that Jesus prayed for us and that we are on his heart, but also be reminded of why he came and how important his ministry was for us as believers. So, hope you have a great day.